Hi everyone, Amanda Brett here, watercolour artist. For my beginner students on my watercolour network, this is a demonstration painting, trying to keep things a little bit more simplified for you and directed specifically to beginners. So what I've done today is a sketch of these garden water lilies. They're not water lilies, what are they? These are the ones the cows eat. Can't think what they're called. I think they're aran lilies, but I always get the name mixed up. So these are the lilies that you'll find in your garden with a lovely big trumpet on them. And what I thought I would do today is to show you my process and how I would do that. So you've seen the drawing that I've done of the sketch this morning. And it's a little bit hard to see this, but on your bigger screen maybe it'll be a little bit easier. And then as I start to work around the painting, it will become even better. So what I'm going to start off by doing is I've already prepared my brushes. Oh, can you see? I don't think you can. Might have my video camera a little bit low. Let's try this so you can see a little bit more. That's better. Okay. Right, now we're cooking. Okie dokie. So you can see my palette here, and you can see my water bucket. I like students to be able to see these because I like students to be able to see what's actually going on and how it actually works and how much water I use and what I do with my palette. It's a very important process for you to see that. And I think that's where a lot of demonstrators online are missing because, let's not go there. Okay. Hi everybody, Amanda Brett here, watercolour artist. Today I'm demonstrating a painting of the white lilies that you might find in your garden. And this demonstration is specifically for beginners. Anybody can watch it, of course, but it is designed specifically for beginners. So I'm going to show you my process from start to finish on painting this. I've already done a sketch that you will find in my beginners group on my watercolour learning network, and let's just get stuck in. So I've already prepared my brushes. That's one of my natural bristle brushes, and I've got a whole bunch of my little round brushes that I like to use for detail. And although they are out, they are not within my reach because I'm one of those people who would go straight to these detail brushes first, and I don't want to. I want to be painting the background and doing an underpainting and blocking in the underpainting. That's my goal for today. For the early phase of this. I'm just going to pop these over here so I can't get at them. Obviously I can. And I'm also going to give my palette a little bit of a spritz. I'm selecting specific colours, but I'm spritzing my whole palette because it's easier. So just a little spritz bottle. They're just a couple of dollars. You can get them from the art shop or from, like plastic storage type stores. Okay, so I've spritzed my palette. I'm going to show you my colours. Ooh, they're all going to fall off. Okay, so the flowers are white, and I'm going to leave them quite white. However, I'm also going to mix a little bit of violet. I better put my specs on. I'm also going to use a little bit of violet, and I'm going to mix my violet with permanent alizarin crimson. And in this particular case, I'm going to use Winsor Blue green shade. It's my blue of the moment. Also the same as Winsor Blue, phthalo cyanine, whatever. They're all going to slide down because I've got my board propped up. This is the tool of watercolour you get for free, Gravity. My board is propped up at the end so that the water comes down. That's your free tool that you get. So it's a good idea to use it. Okay, alizarin crimson, Winsor Blue, new Gamboge, whoopsie, and not enough hands, burnt sienna. I've also got with me some Indian yellow and some cadmium yellow. And the reason I've got these with me is just simply because I think that new Gamboge is not really warm enough for the stamens. Not warm enough for my painting. They might be right in real life, but I'm doing a painting. I'm not doing a photograph of those flowers that are over there, yeah? So my goal is to paint a painting, and I'm not interested in a photograph. I'm trying to create art, and that's the key thing that you must remember when you're painting. We're talking about being poetic, and we're talking about being lyrical with your paintings, and painting from your heart and having fun, yeah? So cadmium yellow and Indian yellow, because I'm going to need to warm that yellow up at some point. So I'm just going to put those over there. Neither of these colours are actually in my palette because I don't use them that much. There is a yellow in there. I don't really know what it is. So Indian yellow is transparent and cadmium yellow is opaque. So just pop those over there. New Gamboge is very transparent. Makes great greens with my blue. So blue and yellow, whoopsie, blue and yellow make green. And blue, I haven't got enough hands, have I? Blue and red make violet. And yellow and red make orange. The key differences in colour you will find that affect your colour is whether the colour that you've selected is a warm or a cool version. That's another story. We're not going to talk about it today. But one of the key reasons I've chosen these particular colours, and these are the colours that all my beginner students have, is because they're all transparent. They're easy to mix. These are professional paints. Don't be sucked into buying cheap ones because they are cheap. And you'll be disappointed, I can guarantee that. So do yourself a favour, get yourself some good paints, just buy small tubes to start with. And I keep popping my glasses up, but I want them down. And what else can I tell you? Brushes, paint, paper. Today I've got Fabriano Artistico. It is 300 gram cold press, 100% cotton rag. A full description of these items will be in the description that accompanies this video. So if you're on YouTube, please do subscribe. And the other thing you can do is check out my website, www.amandabrett.net. And you can also check out my student learning network, which is connected to my website. I think if you click on the members page, it will take you straight through there. I must just check that. But I will put links down the bottom of the video as well so you can have a quick look. Okie dokie. So these are my colours, got my brushes, here's my paper, here's my drawing. I better put some fresh paint in my palette. So that's another key thing that, let's pop that out of the way for a second. Another key thing that people, I think, miss is putting fresh paint into your palette. So my colour alizarin crimson, I did put some fresh paint in there yesterday, and this is one colour that I do like to let dry because I'm quite a heavy-handed painter, and if I get my dirty little dukes on alizarin crimson, all of a sudden I'll have a red painting. Yuck. So I'm just going to pop that out of the way. I've got fresh paint in here and I've given it a spritz. It has dried a little bit. I'm okay with that. Burnt sienna, I think I'll wax some more out. Of these particular colours that I go through a lot of, I have about 3 or 4 other colours that I use regularly in every painting, and I've got all the big tubes for all of them. Actually, I've got oodles of that. One of the major benefits of having very good quality paint is that they will stay in your palette beautifully for quite a while. And the other thing to remember about watercolour is you don't need a lot of paint, yeah? You will see when I'm painting that often I am not digging at the colour in my palette. I'm tapping it with a damp brush. Just tap it, and that's why it's also a good idea for colours like permanent alizarin for me, because I'm a bit of a digger. It's really important for me to let that dry, but I do like fresh paint because it's easier to work with. And I've also got quite a bit of new Gamboge there as well, so just give that another wee blast. It's looking a little bit green. You will note that my palette is a bit murky and disgusting. I'm just not sure which way to go here. That way, I think. Okay, push everything up. All right. My palette looks a little bit murky and disgusting. Bravissima. The reason I say that is because it means that I'm mixing colour. Yeah, and I did clean my palette out a little bit a while back, and I showed it to all my live class students, and they laughed at me because they still didn't think it was very clean, but my palette is actually quite clean compared to other painters. Okay, right, let's get going. So I am going to give this a bit of a spritz and clean that out, because I do like to start with a clean mixing area. So I'm going to get rid of that. My palette is a little bit stained, and I have a special cleaner in my kitchen that will get rid of that. It's probably a good time for it because you can see quite a bit of colour in there. Okay, another spritz. So when you start a watercolour, start with more water. Yeah, I'm mixing a puddle of water. Let me see if I can show it to you. Lift that up a little bit. See if you can see that puddle. Can you see that puddle of water that I've got in there? It's imperative that you start with that, especially if you're painting with dry paper. Yeah, I'm not wetting the paper. I'm not yeah, I'm not going to I am going to paint wet and wet, and the wet and wet comes from this. It's not going to be because I'm soaking my paper. I'm not going to do that today. So that's what I'm doing. Bit of a puddle. Cat here, Bertie's been here. There he is. Okay, right. And effectively what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the top and I'm going to work down. Okay, a little bit of that blue, and you can see that I just tapped it, yeah, because it's beautiful. Beautiful, 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 professional quality paint. It will be quite lively for a long time. There are a few colours that will be a little bit of an issue, but you know, they're not colours that I normally recommend, certainly not for beginners, so you won't ever have that problem. But you can see how much paint I've got in my palette. None of this bird poo, yeah? No bird poo in these classes. Okay, enough hedging around, let's whack into it. Brush is probably a little bit small, but, you know. And I'm just going to badly, how could I do such a thing? Cut around this line. I've changed the line here because I think that it needs to be. Whether that's the right thing to do or not's another thing. So I've just cut around that with a bit of that blue, and you can see I've got a little bit of it's a bit lumpy bumpy. It's too same. Let's see how we go with that. I think my drawing actually is better. Never mind. Okay, so just get rid of those puddles, because what will happen with these beads, if they are not attended to, they will dry in the wrong direction and they will cause blooms. And yes, sometimes blooms are good, sometimes blooms are not. So I've just picked up a little bit of alizarin. You can see how far the paint goes. I've just tapped it and I'm just mixing it into a little bit of that. And then I'm going to blend a little bit into that paint that's already wet. Yeah. Ooh, nice. Okay, now tapping on my sponge. This is a kitchen sponge that is in my palette. I never leave it in my palette because they do grow greeblies in them and they affect your paint, so it's best not to do that. So just tapping out and moderating how much water is in my brush. The other way that I do that is with this kitchen towel beside me, and I just tap it like that, and that's enough to get enough water out in order for me to move to my next process. So I've just picked up a little bit more paint just by tapping ever so gently. Look at me, how clever and gentle I am. Ha ha ha. I deserve a round of applause. And I'm just putting in a little bit more colour. That'll do. Cool. And I'm just washing out my brush. I probably didn't really need to do that, but I did it. So because I washed my brush out, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to use my squirter, and I'm just going to let some of that paint run in. Never be worried about paint running. Paint running is the most beautiful thing in watercolour. When I see tutors online saying, don't let the paint run, I turn the DVD off. I turn the video off, because it is simply not the right way to paint. It's not the fun way to paint. Okay, cool. I've let that run a little bit. It's just the nuances of colour, but not only that. See, I've got a few hard edges going on here, so I'm just going to see if I can loosen off a little bit of a hard edge. There we go. It wasn't a very nice shape, so that's even better. Okay. And I might use, I've reached for my small brushes, a small-ish round, these are Sable Synthetics, this is a number 8 Rowney Rowney Saphhire S85, and I have, and I paint with these all the time, I have a 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, and a 2. So you can see now that how wet that was and how it's starting to dry, yeah? So there's no need for me to have to walk away from this to let it dry. But back to this brush again, bit more water, because now I'm going to come in around here and paint. Cutting around, and I could also say cutting around badly. I think badly doing it is actually quite an effective way to paint watercolour. A little bit of that red. It's a little bit too light, so I'm going to go a bit heavier with colour, because it kind of needs to match what's above. I'm not doing a rendition of what they look like in my garden. Through there. And so just trying to refresh my memory about what I've got in my drawing here. I think that's one of the hardest things, is by the time you come to paint it, I don't want to paint that part right now. Okay, I'm going to have to go quick. Is by the time I come to paint, and some of the marks I can't see, ooh, look at that. That's a little bit luscious, isn't it? Right through those stems, yeah? No need to paint around them. We can do something about them later on if you want a white stem, but it's not really essential. And you can see I'm scrubbing, yeah? Oh, I like this white in here, this light. I wish I had more of it. It's what happens when you're a painter like me, who's a bit heavy-handed. You wish you had more light. But, you know, I've had to learn to accommodate and had to learn how to, I need that smaller brush. Where's it gone? And my cup of tea's gone cold. Hold on. Oh, there it is. I just want to get a little bit of that red in here. And I want to use a smaller brush to do it. Too much water, can feel it. So when you've got your brush miles in, people, you'll start to be able to feel how much water is in your brush. It's already dry in parts. Just a little bit of spatter with this clean water. Okay, now I think I don't really have enough of that moving, and this is a long hard line, so I'm just going to give it a whirl. Let some of it run. That's where it wants to go. Okay, cool. I am going to get a few blooms, but blooms are quite easy to deal with. What I often start with in a painting is what I call a mid-value underpainting, a mid-value. So I've gone around my whites, the whites of the flowers, with a value. Yeah, so now you can see where the flowers are. There's also a couple of those leaves in there as well. So I better do something about those leaves. Now, this new Gamboge is quite a bright colour. It's very transparent. That's why I recommend it to you. But it's a little bit pretty. And with this blue, it's a little bit pretty. So I'm going to see if I can do a little bit of a modify my colour quite a lot. I'm just coming into this leaf. You see, it's not a very good colour for, because it's too pretty, yeah? And the leaves are not like that. I'm just going to pick up a little bit of burnt sienna and dirty some of it off. I'm not going to, I'm not scrubbing any of my colour off. I'm not worried about that. I'm letting them blend and painting around the stamen. And I've lost my place again. So this must be the leaf. There's two leaves here. So I'm going to paint this. And now I'm just taking off water. Beg your pardon, taking off paint. And I'm just going to paint with water. Oh, I see what I've done. Okay. Little bit of that yellow, just drop it in. Because there's enough water on here that's going to help the colour carry around. Some of it I will have to deepen later. And some of it will be too dark, and I might be a little bit cross about that, but you know, them's the breaks. That's what I mean about having to learn how to, I haven't ever really learned how to paint with a light hand, but I have learnt some skill and techniques that help me do what I want to do as a watercolourist, because I only paint watercolour. I don't paint any other medium. I used to years and years ago, but I've been painting watercolour, I suppose, about 30 years. And I used to paint watercolour when I was a child as well. But of course it was child's paint. Okay, a little bit of a spritz. See if we can get a little bit of texture going. Oh, I've got a big, huge bloom going on there, but I can do something about that later, because what's going to happen is I'm going to have to darken up some of this background in order to make these flowers, the white flowers, pop off the page, yeah? Don't know if I like that shape. So I'm just going to do a little bit more paint, a little bit heavier paint, digging a little bit. I might bring that all the way up there. That's better. And then it's quite different from this one here. And the same on that side. Now, because this is a natural bristle brush, it's very soft. So it's not a brush to scrub at your paint. Just picked up a little bit more water. Just lightening the value by adding a little bit more water. Could go in there right now. Might do this first. I'm just going to give it a bit of a spritz through here because it is dry-ish. And let some of that colour run. You can see how buckled the paper is, and that's because it's dry only on one side of the paper. These flowers have quite a yellow portion to them running up the trumpet, yellowy green. I'm a little bit lost. Oh, okay. Now I see where the stem is. Look, I've gotten lost because of that. Okay. But now I've gotten to find my way again. Woohoo, bonus. And I've twisted my vase of flowers around so I can't see from the same angle, which is not entirely a bad thing, but they are beside me. And I've just smushed out a little bit. Okay. Right, smaller brush, and I'm going to, this is a 10, De La Rowney Saphhire S85 10. And, oh, I just wanted to clear out that yellow because I'm going to go back to violet again. If I've got any yellow around, it's going to turn it grey. 3 primaries, red, blue and yellow, make a grey, and if you use enough paint, a lot of paint, you'll get quite a rich version of a dark. Okay, violet. So smaller brush, and you'll see when I'm mixing in, I'm coming into the side. Yeah, I'm not mixing in the whole lot, and you can see my palette does need a little bit of work. It does need a bit of a clean because it's beading quite a lot. And I'm just tapping. That's better. Okay, a little bit more water just to get it flow. Might be a little bit warm. It's a little bit hard to know because my palette does need a good clean out. Okay, a bit more water. And I'm coming in to paint this one first because this bottom area is far away from where I need to paint. So I've got a little bit more control for this one. And my light source is coming from that way. Dampen my brush. Just softening off those lines. Okay, cool. They start to look like flowers now. See, I'm twisting my brush around to get back to the point. Ooh, I think that is in the wrong direction. Scrubbing out any hard marks, any hard lines at this point, and especially that one that's not in the right direction. It will confuse the eye, yours as well as the viewers, yeah? And a little quick once up and down, yeah? No scrubbing with paper towels. Now, can I go into this one here and do the same sort of thing? See if I can get my hand over there without getting my arm in this damp. I'm not turning my paper around and my board around. Sometimes I do that when I'm painting, sometimes I don't. Just depends on what I need to do. And again, just painting around the shapes that I've drawn around the stamen. Okay. Tiny little bit more colour. Violety. I think of shadows as needing to be, cup of tea, shadows needing to be a cool violet, not a warm violet. And the reason for that is cool colours recede and warm colours pull forward, and you need a shadow to recede. You need the shadow to go into the background. Okay, now let's just do this. See where I'm holding my brush at the end? That helps me get over to the area that I need to paint without putting my hand in this dampish area. A little bit of softening. Just dropping in some water here and softening there. Okay, I hope it's not too dark. And the same on this side around the trumpet. In fact, I'm going to do it a different way. I'm just going to drop some water in, following my pencil marks again. And then underneath that, I'll go right through that turn back there. And maybe drop in a little bit more water just at the top and let it run down. And that will push the paint aside a little bit. Now on these flowers, I don't think it's really essential to worry about blooms on the flowers. This might be a bit dark, but it'll be interesting to see how it works, because watercolours do dry lighter. Other mediums dry darker. Watercolour dries lighter. I was going to say something very important. I can't remember what it was. Never mind. Okay. And maybe what I will do is... it's another small brush. And I'm just going to see if I can soften that little edge there. Okay, right. And maybe a little bit of a hand with this. So I'm just making it into kind of the shape that I need it to be. There we go, that's better. All right. Now, smaller brush still, a little bit of that yellow, tiny bit of that yellow. And then just letting it fall into, I need more, into that blue shadowy colour that I've mixed. Okay, right. Where to McDuff? Let's have a thought about this. So, yep, quite buckled because it's wet. It's quite a humid day here. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go in with some more dark. I think I will put out some fresh Gamboge. Because one thing that will ruin a brush very quickly is scrubbing at dry paint. And even your natural bristle brushes, they will wear out. Okay, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of that blue. Too pretty, as we said before. And I'll darken it with a little bit of that burnt sienna. And then I might come back and darken it further with a bit of the alizarin as well. Right, just trying to decide how to get in there and do it. Bit more of that burnt sienna. And I'm not going to mix it on my palette. I'm just popping it straight in. Oh, but I do need a straighter, longer line than that. I think that's better. I'll have to think about that. So this is one of the leaves. And I've almost lost my stamen here. A little bit of a turn back going on. I may need to continue this through here on this side. I think the answer is I will have to. And I'm going to use my, this is what I call my scrubbing brush. Just get a little bit of light. Okay, I'm going to leave that one for now. This shape's not very good. Might not hold, but that's okay. I can sort that out later. And that's just going to give me a little bit of texture. Right. I'll just come in here and do some more work in there. And one of the things that you can do on a day like today, if it's humid for you, one of the things that I often do is switch between a natural bristle brush that will hold a lot of water to a synthetic brush that will hold a lot less water. And honestly, it just depends on the kind of day that you're having, the weather, whether you're having a fast drying day or a slow drying day. Okay, a little bit over mixed, but I think I can cope with that. Try not to mix too much on my palette. Okay, let's give that a bit of a burl. Got a little bit of a natural turn back going on here, so I think I'm going to take advantage of that. It's just happened with the can't think of the word, a bloom that's happened there. Right, get rid of that for the second smaller brush. And now just water. Recording, darling. I have my sound effects now. So you see how easy it is to pick up the paint when it's lovely and fresh. Now, can I bring that up to you? Will it? Can you see on the side? I'm not holding it very steady, but I've got a bit of a glob of that new Gamboge. That's better. Bigger brush, but not that big one. There it is. So this is my next biggest size, which is a number 12. I think I've got a 14 somewhere. I've just added in a bit of burnt sienna. And, oh, actually, I wonder if that will mix a really nice green. I'm going to try that in a minute. And again, just water. There we go. A little bit of that phthalo blue green shade and the burnt sienna. Oh, look at that lovely green. Oh, wahoo. Let's try that. Just going to pop it in there for now, but I do want a straighter down here. So I've just dragged this out to use as a shadow down here. Just a little bit of water just to soften it. I think I can put my hand there. I want to go up. I'm not very good at going up. I'm coming down. Okie dokie. Nice light in there. Cool. Beauty. And can do some more shadows in here. A little bit of line work in there, because these lilies, they have quite a lot of, they have a lot more texture on them than you realise. That's better. In fact, this will be even better. A little bit of burnt sienna, a little bit of that blue. Made it a bit symmetrical. That's better. And I'll do the same over here. So one of the reasons to hold your brush halfway up the handle, obviously, is if I'm trying to get over the wet paint here. But the other thing is, it helps me to be less accurate with my brush strokes here. I want the brush to do the hard work, I guess is a good way of putting it. And this is the stem for this flower. And just water to soften that edge and let them join up, I think. Okay. Right, now I've still got my problem in here with that stamen. It's too soon to do anything about it, but I'm getting all fired up about painting the yellow stamen. So I've got a little bit, I'm pretty sure this is Indian yellow in my palette. And it's quite a transparent yellow, and it's a beautiful warm yellow. So I'm just going to pop it straight in there because I want to. A little bit of water. And I'm going to do the same on this one here. It could be cadmium yellow. They're not, cadmium yellow is not a colour I use an awful lot, so I forget what they are. It looks mighty warm and beautiful. A little bit of spatter, a little bit more, just to keep that, the energy of those blooms happening. And I'm just going to pick up a little bit of, oops, this cadmium yellow to see what it does actually look like. It's a very old tube, and you can see that I haven't used very much of it. Ooh, very pretty. Ooh. So what does Indian yellow look like? And the only reason I'm saying about these colours rather than the new Gamboge for the yellow for the stamen, oh, you can see it's quite different. It's quite a lot warmer. Oh, nice. There's quite a glob of paint that I'm popping in here. Wow, there you go. I think I've got nowhere to put that in my palette. Blast. Okie dokie. It's starting to dry a little bit, so I can start to put some shadows in, I think, soon. Where is that? Let me get rid of some of those before I get into trouble. Don't need that, don't need that, don't need that. Here they are. Now, I've got quite a lot of green on here, and no real place in there either. So I'm just going to have to be careful where I mix my violet. And again, a cool violet. This is too warm. And that's too blue. Backward and forward. Just a little bit of water. Okay, so I think that I will go under here to start with and let them catch and run together. Just with water. It's a little bit symmetrical, the shape of the shadow. So I'm just going to do it wrong, deliberately wrong. Just dropping in some water, and we'll see how that looks in a minute or two. Piece of that paper. It's a little bit better. All right. Okie dokie. I'm just thinking about a softening down here. It's too long a hard edge, so I'm just going to drag it out. I think the hard thing with flowers like this is that because they're quite structured, it would be easy to paint them with hard lines everywhere. But I think because I like things a little bit more loosey-goosey, I love nature, but in a painting, I want it to be a painting and not what I can see in the vase, yeah? So I still want it to be obviously a painting. I'm not keen on paintings that I query myself and go, oh, is this a painting? Or is it a photograph? Still not happy with that shape. I think that's better. Yeah, a little bit uniform. Everything I do makes it worse. Okay, dokie, right. Let's have a crack at chucking some of this green, yellow in. See what it does. Okay. And maybe a little bit down here too. In there. Okay. Right, just going to leave parts of that to dry. I still need a little bit of a shadow under here, but because I'm going to have to go over there to do it, I'm going to leave it for now. Okay, so I think that I'm back to my monster brush. And going to need quite a bit of water. I need the water to make the movement happen, yeah? That's quite a nice shape. Is it the right shape? Okay. Breaking out the big guns now. Well, the smaller big guns. More paint. Burnt sienna and that green, that blue, beautiful. Getting a little bit close to my painting, I've got to be a bit careful. The closer I get, I get too detailed and too yuck. Okay, do I need to come down here with that? Can go down there. Just kind of following the lines. Whether this will be enough or not is another thing. So I will have to be quite cautious about proceeding with that. Nice puddle of water, lovely dark, rich colour. Let's drop some of that in and let it run by itself. Maybe a little bit more of that burnt sienna just by itself. That might be too much. A little Miss Heavy-handed. So I'm picking up that burnt sienna. A little bit hard to follow the lines of a straight-ish line because my paper's a bit buckled now with water again. More water. Do it a different way. I'm going to try this. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. We'll just see. I've just put in some water first to retain this light. Just noticed that part. It's not a very nice shape, so I'm going to get rid of it. Before I pop my elbow into it, let's get rid of it. and more, I think. I'm going to come around this side of here because it's not going to naturally conveniently stop. And a bit more of that blue. Drop it in both sides, let it run. Okie dokie. Maybe a little bit of a, just get some of it running. Okay, a little bit more of that blue, because why not? Okay, so I'm also going to suggest in this painting that there is a shadow cast from this flower onto those two stems behind. So I'm just going to really drag some colour . Making that one lower. And I think I'll soften an edge or two as well. Just damp brush, clean water, cleanish water. Same again. I think it does need to be dark in there. Right. Sometimes we try these little experiments and sometimes they work and other times not. Back to that bluey colour again. So you can see how the water carries the paint. Just picking up those puddles. Okay. Right. Violet. I'll get rid of a little bit of that green. Ooh. So people often say to me, how do you know when to change water? For me, often I paint with really filthy water, but the other thing is that a way to know is if the colour in your pot will not let you mix the colours that you want anymore. And I might have a problem with that because it's very green, which means it's got a lot of yellow in it, which means my violet might be quite grey. That could be a good thing. Just with a damp brush, see if I can soften a little bit in here. Gone the wrong way. That's better. Much better. Okay, right, let's have a crack at making a violet with that green water. Blue and red. Cool blue and a cool red is what I've got here. Just kind of digging a little bit at some fresh paint under there. Is that a little bit too warm? No, I think it's okay now. Okay. A little bit darker in here now. Oh, I forgot I'd painted in there. Never mind. A little bit over my stamen of that violet, just to give me a little bit of a shadow. Some of it's going to creep out a little bit. Okey-dokey. And a little bit on the other side, not too much. And the reason not too much, whoops, is because I want this side to have much less of the violet on it. There we go. Let's join up a little bit. Now I'm going to have a crack at doing a shadow of that stamen, but I don't know if it's going to hold. So I'm going to do it anyway. Sun's coming from this way, so I'm going to put it here. No, it's not going to hold. So if I wanted that to hold, if I was desperate, and I would really just need to have more water and less paint, yeah? But that's not going to hold, and that's going to cause a problem. So I'm just going to let that run down a little bit. A little bit more gravity, get rid of it. And just hold it for a second. Okay, that might have done its job. Okay, right, now I think that's a little bit straight. I tell you why it's too straight, because it's a straight edge on that, I'll point to it, straight edge of the leaf and a straight edge of the flower. Okay, so I need to get rid of that. The only way I'm going to get rid of that is a lot of paint. So I'm just mixing up some fresh paint. I should have just used that. So you see, less water, more paint. So as I've progressed through this painting, I've used less and less water and more paint. Whoopsie. Ick. Damp brush again. Just over that edge. And then I'm going to bring it down to use it as a bit of a shadow as well. That's better. Okay, all right. I'm wondering if I can paint cadmium yellow right over that, because it isn't opaque, but as an experiment, why not? Just repointing my brush, a little bit of a wodge of paint. Looky there. Ho-ho. Don't want to go too mad on this one because I still need to do some shadow around there. How interesting. It, however, is a little bit flat the way that I've done it. So when I say flat, I mean dull and boring. A smaller brush. Might be too small. Let's have a crack. This is back to the Indian yellow. Oh, so that's interesting. That's better. Now that might take a couple of days to dry because it's quite globby and quite solid. But what I've done effectively is use the cadmium yellow as an underpainting. And then I've whacked on top a few little blobs of Indian yellow. How fun. Okay, right. Now, I do need some more violet in here. Just loading my brush. The good thing about using transparent colours is that I'm not going to destroy the transparent nature of the paint by using transparent colours together, because what can happen is you can overmix your colours. And you can see here that I've got a little bit of yellow in there. There's that bit of that blue, bit of that burnt sienna, but you can still see that the colours are not blended together. And that's mainly because of that yellow. I did have a little bit of that cadmium yellow in there. And if you overmix the cadmium colours, they really just do not like it at all. Can I get in there without? There we go. And the other side. That's better. Bit of burnt sienna. Where's that little tiddly brush? There it is. Glob of paint. Ooh, I'm keeping going in there. Tiny little bit of shadow in here. Bit more. I don't want to touch this because of all this green loafing around, but I am going to scoop up that puddle of paint. Just leave those to dry for a bit. And I might have to come around here with some darker, so let's have a think about that. Okay, well, I'm going to have a practice at that and see what happens. So I'm going to mix up, I'm going to need that and that. I'm going to mix up some, just trying to decide which brushes. Not that one. This is going to be my water brush. That's my water brush. This is my paint brush. Ha 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 ha. Let's see how long I can keep that up. A little bit bluer. A little bit of yellow in there somewhere. What a shame. Okay, so I'm going to pop in a little bit of that water out of there. This is quite damp in here, so I'm still going to have to try and go over without disturbing too much. Might be a bit too much paint. So just painting on the side of that water that I just dropped in. So I've got a lovely soft edge. A lot more paint there though. Take it a little bit out. Okay, right, water brush. This is going to be so funny. Okay, I might just pop in a little bit more water there. Okay, water. Effectively, I want darker on the edge of that flower. Here we go. Ooh, better not do it with that in my hand. Okay. A little bit of water at the top. And then I'm letting it meet with the brush, with the paint on it. That's going to need a little bit of a value over it as well, because this is turning away from the sun. So I need a little bit more dark in here as well. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing. Water. And then paint. Bigger brush. And just let it run down effectively. A little bit more water, just to push the paint away a little bit. Tidy this up. I can use that to describe the shape more of the flower. I think I'm going to have a crack at doing that darker because of that bloom behind it. Let's see what happens. Keeping my brush strokes quite light. More paint. Not sure I like that shape actually. That actually was what I drew, but I think what I'm going to do is that. That's better. Also going to use my sea sponge just very carefully and get all the water off. There's still quite a bit of water on here. Just very carefully, same as you do with your kitchen paper. No scrubbing, not in this situation. Need to get more of that richer blue floating around though, otherwise my painting will be a little bit out of kilter. Just wondering where I can put it, maybe in here. This one's already dry, but this one hasn't. Sorry, beg your pardon. This one's not dry, this one has, which is interesting because that's the one I did first. And because I'm a little bit argumentative, it's going to drop in a little bit of burnt sienna. Because the bugs have been eating this flower. bit more of that burnt sienna. Okay. Soften that out a little bit. Okay. Right. It's a little bit too blue. Because it's a damp day, I think I can get away with this. I'm just dropping in a little bit more of that alizarin just to knock that blue back. So you can see it's a lot warmer, this colour that I've got now, and that's because I'm trying to put it in over there. It's much brighter than I intended. A really cool thing about it is you can fiddle around with it until you're quite happy with it. The trick is to modify your water. How much water's on your brush, how much water's on your paper, how much is in your palette. Okie dokie. So I need to get some of this richer blue in here somewhere. So I think this is possibly a good spot to do that. So I'm going to add some more water again. Or paint with water is what I should say. A good way of doing this would actually be to paint this upside down at this point. But I don't think I can do that with my camera setting just at this point and the position of this on the board. Otherwise I'd be in there like Flynn if I wasn't recording. Okay, let's just crack on with this. And there is a little bit of a bloom there for me to solve anyway. Might be a bit eye-catching that. So let's just get rid of that and see what happens. I think this could be quite nice if this point of the flower is lost. I don't think it's supposed to be a point. Oh no. Just now. Okay. And I'll just get rid of that little puddle of water, just soaking up with my damp brush. And the other thing that I can do, just so that I don't have any, is just very carefully tamp it with your kitchen paper. No scrubbing or wiping, just straight up and down. That'll be enough. We'll see how that goes. All right. Okay. Need more work on here. Need some shadow in there. Just a little bit of texture, I think. There we go. All right. More green in there. That's really nice. See that little bloom that's come out? Yay. Okie dokie. Gosh, so close to finished, eh? That's the funny thing, you get to about, 96, 97% of it done. Just using a little bit of white gouache because I love it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I need one up there too. That's better. Okay. All right. For the moment, I'm going to call that finished and might revisit it tomorrow and see. I think could do with a little bit of, can I do it now? Okay. I'm thinking I'm going to be quite heavy-handed with that. So I'm trying to think, can I do it? It's nowhere to go. And the direction I think will be down like this. The good thing is it will lighten. That's better. Suck some of that colour out. Softening that edge. I think it's a bit hard. That's better. And maybe a little bit of a spatter. With the green. A little bit with that violet. There we go. If your the value of your spatter is not too sharp a contrast, then there's no problem with doing a little bit of spatter after the fact. But often if it's too hard a colour, it just stands out and it will just be too much. Just thinking about this in here. That's better. Right. More tomorrow. I'm going to go make some dinner. See you later, guys. Take care. Bye.